Saturday, the 15th day in the month of February 2025. Welcome to this week's edition of Matters Arising, a program that critically discusses and analyzes matters of national interest. Comes your way every Saturday from 21 to 22 hours. I'm your host as usual. My name is Paul Shingongo. Now, on the show tonight, we focus and discuss the future of the Patriotic Front, the PF, a political party that was at the helm of the country's affairs for a decade, that is from 2011 up until 2021. Michael Chilufya Sata, a long-time politician, ruled from 2011 when he managed to defeat MMD's Rupiah Banda until his demise in 2014. The PF continued their reign upon the election of Edgar Chagwa Lungu in January of 2015, the presidential by-elections. He ruled until 2021 when long-time opposition leader and businessman Hakainde Hichilema defeated him with a landslide difference of 1 million votes separating the two. Now, from the time the Patriotic Front went into opposition, the party has not been without conflicts. Till date, going to 4 years this year, the party is yet to go for their convention to choose their next president. This is despite 8 interested members of the PF paying, of course, the non-refundable 200,000 kwacha of nomination fees. Right now, the PF is split into at least 3 known factions. There is the Edgar Lungu-led faction. There is also the Mao Sampa-led faction, and now the Robert Chavinga faction. There are numerous court cases of the PF before the judiciary. With only 18 months to go before the next general election, it is still not clear how formidable and united the former ruling party is in preparation for next year's election. What does the future of the PF look like? Well, there's no better person to answer that question. Joining me in the studios this evening is 61-year-old Given Levin, the vice president of the PF faction led by Edgar Chagwa Lungu. He is one of the longest-serving members of parliament in the country, the first elected MP for Kawata in 2001 under the UPND ticket when he took over from Richard Kachingwe. But later he joined the PF and was subsequently elected MP in 2006, 2011, and 2016 under the PF ticket. In total, he has served as Member of Parliament for 20 years. He served in various cabinet portfolios, among them Minister of Information, Foreign Affairs and Agriculture. Mr. Vice President, welcome to Prime TV and specifically welcome to Matters Arising.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers, and good evening, Paul. Thank you for inviting me to Matters Arising.
You are welcome. Remember, this is an interactive program. There is a number on your screen. Later on, you shall be given an opportunity to also be part of the conversation. We're live on various platforms, also live on our social media platform, that's Prime Television Zambia. Go there, drop in your comments, questions, and contributions at some point during the course of the conversation. We shall also get to your views on the program. Mr. Vice President, our focus tonight is on the future of your party, the PF, a party you stood on as an MP for 15 good years. How is the PF? How is it doing? Let's begin the conversation from there.
Yes, let's make things clear right from the onset. There is the name PF and there is the organization PF. They are 2 distinct things for the time being. The name PF currently is the one that is controlled by Hakainde Hichilema. But the organization and all its members is the one that's managed by Edgar Chagwa Lungu. When you talk about the factions, and you mention the faction led by Mao Sampa, you mention the faction led by Chavinga, as far as we're concerned, those 2 are appendages of the UPND. Those are the ones that are controlled by no other than Hakainde Hichilema. The people of the party that is a member of the Tonse Alliance, that is the one that is led by Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And when you ask the question, how is the future of the Patriotic Front? The future of the Patriotic Front, led by Edgar Chagwa Lungu, is extremely bright. And this can be seen from the fact that we decided to reorganize ourselves away from the Mingalato of Hakainde Hichilema. Hakainde's Mingalato was to make sure that the Patriotic Front under Edgar Chagwa Lungu and even his own factions under Chavinga and Mao Sampa should not take part in by-elections. That was his agenda. His number one agenda is to destroy the institution called the Patriotic Front. Unfortunately for him, the spirit of Michael Chilufya-Sata, the spirit of the founding fathers of this party, is so strong that it cannot be destroyed by one person. The Patriotic Front will only be destroyed by the people themselves. And for the time being, the people are resilient. And we decided not to fall prey forever under Hakainde's Imingalato. We decided to reorganize ourselves. And we left the name Patriotic Front to Hakainde Hichilema. Let him manage it with Mao Sampa and Chavinga. That's fine. But we have moved on with the people and formed the Tonse Alliance. And under the Tonse Alliance, we have participated so far in 3 major by-elections. We participated in Kawambwa. Under NCP, we also participated in Pambasha recently under FDD, and we participated in Petauke, also under NCP. And you can see from the warmth of the people that indeed the Patriotic Front, the spirit of the Patriotic Front, is still alive. And the future is very bright.
When you talk about the future being bright, Honorable Luvinda, and putting a distinct on the name, the PF that is being managed by Hakainde Hichilema according to you, and of course the PF, and of course indicating that the organization is still intact. Some of your members might not agree because they are aware that you are still fighting for the same name in the courts of law. In my preamble, I did indicate that there are various cases before the courts of law of the same name that you're saying you've left.
Yes, we have to put the record straight. We want the whole country to know that the coup that was staged by Hakainde Hichilema using his stooge Mao Sampa was indeed a coup. And the people must be made aware of that. In the meantime, we will not sit back and sit on our laurels and wait for Hakainde to destroy the party. This is the reason why we have decided, for the time being, he can keep the name. But we'll move on with the people. We'll move on with the spirit. Until such a time that the court is freed to hear our matter. As you're well aware, and you said it very well, there's a duplicity of cases in court concerning this matter. Up to a point where the Chief Justice himself intervened and suggested to our lawyers that instead of having a duplication of cases, can we narrow it down into one case, which we did. And after that, what happened? The Constitutional Court decided to throw out our matter. After being advised by the Chief Justice that the matters must be brought together, must be consolidated, the Constitutional Court decided to throw out the matter on a technicality, not on its merits. However, now there is a case in court involving our members of parliament, 10 members of parliament, against Mao Sampa, where Mao Sampa is purported to have expelled them from the party. And then later on, he himself wrote a letter to parliament saying, I've rescinded my expulsion, but Nelly Muti stuck to that and said, no, they are expelled. Even if the person who purported to have expelled them changed his position and rescinded his decision, Nelly Muti still stuck to the initial decision. That matter is before court. And unfortunately, the matter has been pending hearing in court for such a long time. You know that this occurred early last year. And the whole year has been spent, has gone without the matter being heard. We're hoping that one day the court shall be freed by the hand of Hakainde Hichilema for it to proceed with hearing the matter. Because we are confident that any competent court, once they are confronted with the issues surrounding the coup that was staged on Independence Day 2023, I'm sure that the courts will determine that that coup was illegal.
We must also put it on record that the coup you're talking about that was plotted according to you, by Hakainde Hichilema is an accusation.
It is not an accusation.
It should be stated, right?
I have evidence. It's not an accusation.
You have evidence that it is not an accusation, that President Hichilema himself is the one that plotted that?
He is the one who plotted it.
Where's the evidence?
The evidence is that you cannot have any institution of government performing any function without the authority of the president. You can't. So, every government officer functions in the name of the president. The police functions in the name of the president. ZNBC functions in the name of the president. It's not like your private television station. Now, on that particular day, Hakainde Hichilema was playing host to Tanzanian president at State House. Okay? He caused for ZNBC outside broadcasting equipment to be at State House until such a time that he finished his engagement, and immediately sent outside broadcasting equipment of ZNBC to Lungu International Conference Center. On that same material day, he told the police to go and give protection to Mao Sampa at Lungu International Conference Center. Never in the history of Zambia have you ever seen such police presence at an opposition political party meeting. That was unprecedented. It was also unprecedented that police officers are the ones who are managing that so-called convention. They're the ones who are inside there controlling everything. Never have you ever seen that happening. Isn't that evidence enough that Hakainde was involved?
Well,
now, that was Independence Day. The very night after the so-called convention, fingerprints were lifted by the police. In the night. What did you see after that? The poor lady at Registrar of Societies who refused to change the leadership of the Patriotic Front was hounded out of the office. Who hounded her out? The Minister of Home Affairs cannot have the power to hound out a Registrar of Societies. He was doing that under the instruction of Hakainde Hichilema. And soon after that, we got a court order for the Registrar of Societies to publish the names of the office bearers, which she did. And who are the office bearers? Edgar Chagwa Lungu and his team. And yet soon after that, what happened? After that poor lady was kicked out of the office and chucked away into the corner, they brought in somebody else who immediately caused the change of names of office bearers without necessarily looking at whether or not that coup was in accordance with the constitution of the Patriotic Front. Do you think all this would happen without the president? No. I've been minister before, and I know how government functions.
The president controls.
Of course, no public officer performs outside the name of the president. No.
When you say public officer, we have the doctrine of separation of powers. We have the legislature and the executive that we are told. Yeah, I'm glad you've been to law school, Honorable Lubinda, so you understand that the doctrine of separation of powers is supposed to work.
You know, I was in court for having said that a grade 5 child knows very well about the doctrine of separation of power. So I don't have to be at law school for me to understand that. And don't make it appear as though it's a very complex doctrine. It's a very simple doctrine which every person knows. But is that the case in Zambia today? No, that is not the case at all. In Zambia today, Hakainde Hichilema is the alpha and the omega of everything.
Was that, how was it during the PF? You are Minister of Justice. Was it in existence? Was this doctrine being respected?
I can give you examples of how the doctrine was being respected. President Edgar Chagwa Lungu had to be embarrassed by the judiciary when the judiciary held that he had made a mistake to allow his ministers to stay in office. That was pure doctrine of separation of power and respect for the doctrine. Not now. No. Give me an example to show me. I've given you one example of how Edgar Lungu and his executive had a hands-off policy with regard to Parliament and with regard to the judiciary. Give me one example now. I can give you an example to show you that there's no separation of power. The president causes that there is a matter in court to do with the eligibility of Edgar Chagwa Lungu, and immediately causes that the JCC must try a matter which was tried earlier and he quickly suspends and after that fires judges, what separation of power is there? None whatsoever. None. And when I say public officers perform in the name of the president, I mean it. There is no office that can call you except under the name of the president.
Now that you have this contention, Honorable Lubinda, as a patriotic front, and you've gone before the courts of law, are you expecting that these cases will go in your favor?
You know, I've said before that today, a lot of cases that are before the courts, it is actually the courts that are on trial. The judiciary is on trial. So we'll wait and see, will the judiciary win this battle?
What do you mean they're on trial? It's not them.
we have a constitution, all right? We have a PF constitution which stipulates how a convention will be held for the PF, okay? And we know that Mao Sampa did not follow that constitution. And that's the matter that is before the court. We want to see how the court will say, yes, this was in keeping with the constitution of the Patriotic Front. We want to see that. This is the reason why they are on trial. It's not us, it's them on trial.
We'll wait to see how the cases go, but also in the same breath, Honorable Linda, I'd like to hear from you because one of the things that we saw is change of minds from your leader in this faction, of course, talking about Edgar Lungu. Earlier on, he had retired from active politics. There's documentation showing that he wrote to the Secretary to Cabinet indicating of his retirement. And of course, you as acting president, I remember I hosted you the very, very day you were appointed as acting president after that meeting, the Central Committee meeting. And you did indicate that we will begin the process to choose the next leader. That we saw what followed was the issue of the 200,000 kwacha nomination fees for those that were interested. Despite that, we've seen ECL coming back and expressing intentions to be the president again. Isn't that confusing, even to the 8 members that pay the 200,000 kwacha?
What is confusing about it? Are you saying that Edgar Chagwa Lungu cannot change his mind about his political career? Doesn't he have the liberty? And remember, the circumstances that forced Edgar Chagwa Lungu to come back into active politics. Number one, he was being beaten left, right, and center with his hands tied behind him. All right? Instead of him being respected as a retired politician, as a retired former president, what was happening to him? The gate to his house was being cut down by police. His children were being summoned on a daily basis. His wife was being harassed on a daily basis. His immunity was being questioned on a daily basis. Beyond that, his political party, the party that gave him the privilege to be a member of parliament, to be a deputy minister, to be a minister, and most of all, to be president for 7 years, was under siege. What do you expect of the man? He had to come back. And on the 28th of October 2023, when he decided to come back, he made it clear he was coming back because he wanted to defend democracy. He wanted to make sure that he defends and protects his party. That is what led him to come back. And after he came back, meetings were held. I chaired a meeting myself in the Central Committee. And I said, now that this man has come back as president, is there any reason for an extraordinary conference? No. The circumstances changed immediately. When he was in retirement, I didn't want to continue to act as president until the next convention in 5 years. No. We had agreed we were going to have an extraordinary conference because there was a vacuum. There was absence of a president. But the fact that he came back and occupied his presidency.
He changed his mind.
It changed the whole scenario. He was elected at the convention in May 2021. And according to our constitution, which we respect, the next convention is after 5 years, May 2026. It therefore became immaterial to debate whether to have an extraordinary conference or not. what we ought to plan for now, what we're planning for now, is the General Convention in 2026. Now, those 8 people who paid, they are still at liberty to come and contest against Edgar Chagwa Lungu if he so desires to stand. And we in the Central Committee actually discussed the matter. Who is going to be our presidential candidate in 2026? And members of the Central Committee are already resolved that come 2026 convention, we in the Central Committee shall present Edgar Chagwa Lungu as our president and presidential candidate. Okay? And as fortune would be on our side, when the Tonse Alliance was formed, the leaders of the Tonse Alliance also said, yes, we also agree that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu should be our president.
That announcement by Tonse was made prior to the judgment by the Constitutional Court, the 10th of December judgment by the Constitutional Court that, of course, ruled that ECO is not eligible to contest any future election as a presidential candidate. But surprisingly, Honorable Lubinda, both the Tonse Alliance and yourselves, the PF, are insisting that ECO is going to be on the ballot in the next 18 months. Many Zambians out there will be wondering, how is this possible when the Court of Finality has indicated that he is not eligible to be on the ballot?
On the 10th of December, one day before the judgment, I held a Central Committee meeting. And soon after that, I addressed the press. And one of the things I said was that, unfortunately, Hakainde had exposed the judiciary. Okay? That was before the judgment. I indicated that Hakainde had opened a Pandora box whose lid he had thrown down the Victoria Falls, never to be retrieved. Why did I say that? It is because a court of finality such as the Constitutional Court of Zambia does not have the power to revisit its previous decisions. But they granted it to themselves. They donated that power to themselves. Now the fact that they did that, what does that mean? It means that they can be forced to revisit their decision. And look at this. I've said this before. On the 12th, on the 11th itself, after the judgment, I again addressed the press. And I reminded the people that I had spoken the previous day and had no respect whatsoever for that judgment. I have no respect for it whatsoever.
You don't respect the judgment from the courts, Honorable Lubinda?
No, not that judgment.
Isn't that a mockery to the judiciary?
I have a right, as an individual, I have a right, okay, to accept or not accept a judgment. I have a right to respect or not to respect it. And that particular judgment, I don't respect it because I don't agree with it. I don't. If you want, have me arrested. If this is hate speech, have me arrested. But I don't respect it at all. How do you expect me to respect this one judgment against the 4 previous judgments of the same court? They made 4 previous judgments on the same matter. And on 4 occasions, they arrived at one decision. And now this 5th one is where they go against the 4 decisions they had made earlier. What makes you think I should respect this 5th and not respect the 4th?
Because it's not working in your favor, it's obvious.
No, it is just logic. It's just logic. If a person has made a consistent position on 4 occasions, and on the 5th they depart from the 4, why do you think the 5th is correct? Why?
Oh, the court did explain.
What was the explanation?
You are aware.
I'm not aware. I told the people myself, I said, why is it that this court gave itself a Vasco da Gama voyage, but selective in nature? Went on, only visited those jurisdictions where the Constitutional Court has the power to revisit their position, and not those jurisdictions where the Constitutional Court Act is similar to the one of Zambia, where the legislature, the drafters of the law, made their decision that the Supreme Court may revisit its decisions, but will not give this power to the Constitutional Court. That is what the law says. So, my dear friend, no. And we have said time and again Edgar Lungu will be on the ballot paper.
That means
whether Hakainde likes it or not.
Does that mean you're going back to the Concord? Because you've not gone back so far.
I told Zambians that we have Plan B, and I'm not going to disclose the content of Plan B. Just watch the space.
But if you don't go back to the courts over this particular case, how, logically speaking, how does this here find himself on the ballot?
Just because watch the space.
It will have to take the Concord to change the mind.
I will not tell Hakainde what Plan B is, and you will not use this program to try and make me divulge what the content of Plan B is.
But Honorable Linda, I think it's obvious as well that legally speaking, you know the law. If ECL is to be back on the ballot, it will have to take the Concord to revisit
leave that to us.
That case. But so far,
leave that to
you've
us.
not gone back to the court.
No, leave that to us. Leave that to us. All I can advise you is now start campaigning for ECL.
He's going to be on the ballot.
He will be on the ballot paper. Leave that to us.
Isn't that laughing at the judgment of the Concord?
I've already told you that I have no respect for it. What more do you want me to say about it?
Unless they change, right?
What more do you want me to say about it? I have no respect for that judgment. I don't respect it.
Does it mean, Honorable Winner, does it mean that in the entire organization of the Patriotic Front, you do not have people that can lead the party as presidential candidate? You're stuck on an individual that the court has barred?
Don't change the discussion. The discussion is not whether or we have or we don't have an alternative. That's not the discussion. The discussion here is Edgar Chagwa Lungu as our candidate.
Exactly.
Why do you want us to change? Because Hakainde is afraid of ECL?
No, because the court has ruled that he's not eligible to contest.
I have told you that we don't mind what the court has said. Why do you want to go back on this matter? We don't mind what the court said. And leave it to us. We will make sure that he's on the ballot paper. Leave it to us. Why do you keep going back to the judgment of those 7 people? I've already told you we don't accept it. That's it. And we'll make sure Edgar Lungu is on the ballot paper. And it's not a question of whether we have an alternative candidate or not. The principle is what is important. We are not going to allow a person who belongs to another party to determine who the candidate of our party is. No. We will not allow that.
What happens if these cases before the courts of law drag until August next year?
Don't worry. We have that in mind already.
Some individuals have indicated that what the PF are going through, it's a test of their own medicine. They did it to the MMD. Remember when you lost power?
What did we do?
Of course, when the MMD lost power in 2011, there are assertions that those factions, the Felix Mutati factions, Nevas Mumba factions, were sponsored by the PF.
Did you ever hear us sending police to go and stage a coup?
Others have indicated that Felix Mutati was being supported by the PF. That's why even
bring Felix here to come and answer for himself.
The organization PF is the one that people have indicated that was.
Don't use me.
You are the vice president.
Don't use me
of the organization.
I'm asking you not to use me to answer battles for another political party. Bring those people here to come and explain. Not me. Not the PF. No. Let those MMD people come here and come and explain to you how, if it is true, that the PF was involved.
You never had any hand in the confusions in the MMD?
Not at all. Not at all. The fact that Felix Mutati was appointed minister does not necessarily mean that we cause confusion. No. How come the same is not being said about UPND? Because we also appointed a member of parliament in UPND, didn't we? So, what's the difference?
When you talk about Tonse, it's a few other stakeholders have indicated, Honorable Winda, that you don't need to keep beating around the bush. Your plan B is Tonse. Just a few days ago, resolutions from the meetings from the Tonse posted by the spokesperson Sean Tembo, who was on that seat last week, indicated that all the candidates in the elections going forward will now be on the NCP. Many have said, well, that is the plan B. What other plan does the PF have?
We have a plan B, and none of us Not even President Sean Tembo will tell you what the plan B is.
Putting 1+1 together, one might think that is already because Edgar Lungu posted when the Tonse Alliance won the Petauke Central, he posted that Plan B is in motion and has worked.
Yes, it is in motion and it is working.
So Plan B is already in motion?
Yes, Plan B is in motion. We started Plan B the very day when those 7 judges passed that judgment. We started Plan B and we're implementing it and it's working. And you will just be seeing what is happening. And as you see things happening, then you can be adding your 1+1. But I will not give you the answer because that is not for you to know. Because for me to say it here, I'll be speaking straight to Hakainde Hichilema. And if I tell Hakainde Hichilema what my plan is, what our plan is, what do you think he will do? That is a Mingalato man. He will come up with another Mingalato to confuse us. No.
Are you so scared of President Hakainde Hichilema as a PF?
We are not scared of him. We're just worried about his nature of politics. We're very concerned about the way he's doing politics. We're very concerned. Destroying the democratic space that made him a president. We're very worried. We're worried about a president who can go on a public meeting and even say, Tizaba kama pamukosi. What presidency is that? Is that presidential speech? No. That is beneath presidency. And we're worried about that. We're worried that up to now, he's not allowing us the free space to mobilize and organize. You saw pictures of his policemen ambushing me in Petauke. Huh? They went and caused the roadblock on the way where I was going to address a meeting in an area where even Mwangala Zalomi's ECZ had allowed us that this is where you're going to have your meeting today. The police blocked the road. When I got there and I asked, why are you blocking the road? They said, because UPND are in this ward already. And I said, but UPND are not supposed to be in this ward. This ward today is for NCP. I want to go and address the people in this place. And they said, no, you go back. Because if you proceed, there will be violence. And I said, you must be ridiculous, policeman. It is the same as you, policeman, going to my house and you hear that there's a thief in my house. And you stop me at the gate and say, please don't go in because there's a thief in your house. Go away. While the thief is stealing in your house. What kind of ridiculous policing is that? All that is because Hakainde is so scared stiff of us. It's not the other way around.
But how can President Hakainde Hichilema be scared of you after he managed to beat you by 1 million votes?
Because he knows that he beat Edgar Chagwa Lungu out of an illusion. He created an illusion in the minds of people.
The Zambians voted out of an illusion.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
Yes,
the people out there voted out of an illusion.
They are saying it themselves, my friend. It is not me. It is not me who called him Vashi Promise. It is the Zambian people who are calling him Vashi Promise. We are tired of your promises. The name I gave him myself is Bali Muntuwabu for BMW. That's the name I gave him. And I take responsibility. But to call him Vashi Promise, I'm a promise. People voted for him because he told them, PF are selling fuel at 15 kwacha. They are stealing 3 kwacha because of the middlemen. When I come, I'll reduce the price of fuel. PF is giving you 6 bags of fertilizer. I'll give you 8. I'll reduce the price of fertilizer from 1,000 kwacha to 500 kwacha. I'll reduce the price of meal. That's what he was telling the people. You will eat 3 square meals a day. That's what he told the people. I'll create jobs for all of you university graduates. That's how they went in gowns to go and vote. It was an illusion.
And the jobs are not being created.
I wonder who has been employed. He goes now and employs nurses and employs teachers and brags about that without acknowledging the fact that he could not have employed those nurses, he could not have employed those teachers hadn't it been for the hard work of the Patriotic Front.
Also admitting that he has employed teachers and nurses.
Yes. Isn't that public knowledge?
You're admitting that he has fulfilled that particular promise.
What promise?
Of creating jobs.
That is not creating jobs, Bwana. If you want to create jobs in an economy, create the jobs through the private sector. Huh? create jobs through the private sector, grow the private sector, so that the economy can run.
The civil service does not need jobs.
The civil service is not something to brag about, sir. The civil service is not meant to have jobs. The civil service is a machinery which would facilitate for the private sector to create employment.
That leads. That even leads me to, you know.
So, are you agreed with the people out there that they voted because of the promises, unfulfilled promises?
They are watching.
And now, the Hakainde himself has realized that the people have now seen my false promises. And the only way for the Zambians is to kick me out. And the one they will use to kick me out is the Tonse Alliance and Edgar Chagwa Lungu. This is the reason why he's fighting us.
It's no longer about the PF now, it's a Tonse Alliance.
The PF is part of the Tonse Alliance, sir. It is the anchor party of the Tonse Alliance. And we in the PF are encouraging even all the other opposition political parties to come under one umbrella. That's what we are yearning for. Okay? That's what we're yearning for. So when I use the term Tonse, I'm using it because we are now a bigger party, we're a bigger body, we're a bigger alliance with other political players and even other civil society organizations that are members of the Tonse Alliance.
Guests are just joining us. This is Matters Arising, a program that critically discusses and analyzes matters of national interest. On the show tonight, we are looking at the future of the former ruling party, the Patriotic Front. In the studios, I have PF Faction Vice President under the ECO-led team, Given Luwinda. There is a number on your screen. We shall be opening the phone lines in a short while. You can call in and be part of the conversation. But we're also live on our social media platform, that is Prime Television Zambia. Get there. Drop in your comments, questions, and contributions. I can see quite a number of them. We shall be getting to read some of your questions. Before I even ask whether, Honorable Luwinda, you think you can bounce back in office or not, before I even get to that, the big question many have been asking is, why do you want to come back? What do you want to come and do that you didn't do in 10 years? It was in your era as the Patriotic Front when the economy went down. Zambia became the first African country to default on its Eurobond in November 2020 under your reign. In your reign, 2020 to be specific, the debt to GNI ratio had risen dramatically to 168%. From 24.9%. Debt servicing became unsustainable in your era. You are aware. External debt was sitting at slightly over 12 billion US dollars. Corruption levels are extremely high. I don't know why you're laughing. Revelations from...
I'm laughing because you tend to have a good way of being selective with the information. Why don't you want to compare that with what is obtaining now? What is the debt now?
I'm getting there. But the big question, which is very important, and many Zambians have been asking is, what do you want to come and do that you did not do? Many have talked about the thuggery and the cadreism, and I'm glad that in your post-mortem after you lost power, you regarded that. You had told me when I interviewed you, you indicated that that was one of the major reasons why the Zambians started to kick you out. What exactly do you want to come and do?
We've been having by-elections now. Tell me any one by-election where you heard that the PF were involved in any thuggery, in any electoral violence.
There are accusations that in Petauke, Gilbert Lusaniso is on record saying that your cadres under Tonse were the ones wearing UPND t-shirts and causing violence.
Because that is their tactic. Now they are revealing to us what they were doing when they were in opposition. They were wearing our uniform and causing trouble and pointing at us and saying this is PF. Now they are revealing to us. So the truth of the matter is that they are the ones who dented us by ensuring that they employed their cadres to wear PF regalia and go and cause havoc.
But you had admitted, Honorable Luwinda, that
listen,
the PF...
I'm explaining to you why we admitted. Because the propaganda that was used is the one that when we went out to do our post-mortem, people are saying, yes, we were seeing your cadres in your uniform. When now we've come to realize that actually we were just invaded by these thugs. These UPND thugs. We have been told now, you are the one who's been telling me that this is their tactic. This is what they were employing.
No, I'm just quoting what Liswaniso said. I'm not the one telling you that.
You're quoting, and you're telling the nation what Liswaniso told you. And I'm saying, yes. I suppose they're saying this because this is exactly what they were doing. Huh? Now, the people who are arrested in Petauke, are they PF? They're UPND. Huh? The fellows who went and hacked Sean Tembo in Kawambwa, are those PF? And those UPND? They went and hacked him in Kawambwa. They beat up a driver of Peter Chanda. Who did that? PF? No. No, sir. So when you ask, what is it that you want to come and do? We want to come and finish the unfinished job. We have a program which unfortunately was curtailed because of Vashi promise. We want to come and continue where we left things off. Hadn't it been for Vashi promise, even the debt now wouldn't have been what it is. You're talking about us borrowing 12 billion in 10 years. How much has this man borrowed in 4 years? 9 billion in 4 years. What comparison is that? Huh? What comparison is that? Tell me if the economy is doing any better. The man who told you, I'm going to make sure you have 3 meals a day, what is he telling people now? He's telling people, he went and told people in Southern Province, the proud people of Southern Province, which area we used to call Gontira Maila. Gontira Maila meant a place where there was plentiful. He goes and tells them, in the evening, Mutai sowi, njomasia, leave it so that you eat tomorrow morning. This is the same man who was saying, I'll make sure that you eat 3 square meals a day. Now he's telling Zambians that Mudia Chimbala. And you're saying things are better. The fuel was 15 kwacha. 3 years along the line, the fuel is 35 kwacha. In the 10 years, look at the infrastructure development we undertook. What has it done? Even the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway, instead of bringing FDI, foreign direct investment, to come and do that road, he uses Zambian money and gives it to Chinese. He gets money from the economy, gives it to a Chinese company and tells that Chinese company, you are going to use our money, build this road, and we'll give you the toll gates for free for 25 years. And you're saying things are better. I'm sorry.
Things are worse now?
Of course. Of course, things are worse now. Look at how malnourished dogs are. Go along the streets and see how those dogs are looking. Why? Because people can't afford to even feed dogs. The president has told you, Yasara Konsimaija, don't give it to dogs, keep it for you to eat tomorrow as breakfast. Where will the dogs find food from? Where? Everyone in Zambia is just walking like desperate people.
Many people.
Where we live, in the compounds where we live. Huh? You can see the desperation on the faces of people. You can see the languish of people. People are languishing. You found mountains of maize in the sheds that we left for you. You were also going around with them. Prime TV was being shown. Look, there's so much maize. This maize is 3 years old. We're going to sell all of it. So we have unfinished business, Bwana.
We'll open the phone lines. The number is 0776-409-840, 0776-409-840. That is the number you're using to be part of the conversation. Please, as you call in, ensure you make your submissions under a minute so that you can accommodate other callers as well. I can see quite a number of comments on our social media platform. Time allowing, of course, we shall be able to read some of the MPF Vice President under the ECL-led faction is my guest on the show tonight as we look at the future of the Patriotic Front. 0776-409-840. 0980. As you call, please ensure to reduce the volume on your TV set. 0776 409-840. What would you make, even as we get our first caller, what would you make of the various, comments coming in from the government? Chief Government spokesman is on record, together with the Deputy SG of the UP, indicating that the current administration has managed to achieve 80% of their campaign promises. They've talked about the that is a game changer. But let me pick a call. You're through to Matters Arising. Your name and where calling us from? TV. You're through to a program.
I'm calling from Mazabuka.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm Mr. Ngambi.
Go ahead, Mr. Ngambi.
Yes. First, given you in the Muzibera Console system. Varovinda Munavara Prime TV. Then football bring up a Prime TV data first. Apanga vitu vabirimo nayanganani maskuru. Mwangani mamena mangira maskuru na madeski bana lezukara pamya. Vantu vangena manchito na manchito na manchito na manchito na manchito. Mamena mwezo kangiwa. So why muna maboza varuvinda naye maruvinda. Kama tuwe kuveja varuvinda please vambuya varuvinda. Kama masimpe. Zalaya galiwe mulita ngulezoga ipanga ive nimungana anapanga njala ndiye ame ivula finagwe simu gafati ati eche chatangiwa so valubinda vamene munasiya mu corruption chabe mafamu zengana ni mamashoni zamene vanamanga msingu sibasebenza banazipeza kuzindalama zija yanganani vambiri mani mafamu mukaweka PF ero futi PF yamene mukambayo imwe kuwe nafira PF ili kuli bandani baja bamene banasunga mpando imwe mulibe kama mukaende ku makoti mukawine mpando jo PF ndiye pamene za brera PF apa palibe PF musakambe boza ukamba ati muri pati na bandana aba venangu mukalalansi kulibe mulibe pati.
Thank you so much for the conversation. 0776409840, that is the number you are using. 0776409840, that is the number you are using. Given Luinda, PF Vice President, Theolet Faction is my guest on the show tonight. You're through to Matters Arising. Your name and where you're calling us from? You're through to the program. Tell us your name. Please, as you call us, just ensure that you reduce the volume of your TV. You are through to the program. Good evening. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Hello.
Hello.
You are through to the program. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yes. Good evening. This is Pasco speaking.
Pasco, calling us from where?
I'm calling you within Lusaka.
Go ahead, Pasco.
Yes, I want to ask Mr. Given on the panel there. I want to, in the first place, you should test what is that the plan B is talking about. And I think my honest appeal is you should be very sincere with the former president, His Excellency, Mr. Edgar Chagwa. I'm sure they could have given the time so that he can rest. He had drained his rest. So I'm sure it's a high time that these politicians, they just be honest to each other, like for the former president. I'm sure let them not drag him into active politics. Let the man rest for now. So if Mr. Givel will want to become a president, let him become a president of PF, then we support him, or maybe let them choose another person. I just feel bad for the man because at least he has tried to help the members of the PF front. So let him just be an advisor. Yeah, that's my...
Thank you so much, Pasco. Just pause and allow Honorable Bian to respond to these questions. 0776 409-840, 0776 409-840. That is the number you are using to be part of the conversation. As you call, please reduce the volume on your TV set and ensure that your submission is at least within a minute. You are through to the program. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution.
Walanda kwa problem zali kitamu abantu because abantu problem bali kitamu nomba no positioning nga mwaisoku isho mulanda ta vile balance ko kanejo alera zambia amafya bakwete because ubute ko bulipo singi firubene ese mwali balance ko imwe basinge fibale wa myako omba ibanga mwaisoku nshobora kitati tafiri balance ko kana amafya kwete abantu wabikati kuzesiko amasarishira na bati mubali mikenyisha mwareteka cost of living biliyai cyonse cyo muringiro kulanda kuko sema cyari kitamu abantu mamona nomba ndamwaiso kubonse fye temo mwega ba PF yo bonse ya opposition Zambia tamuri strong wawe pena mapoint alira arefa abantu tamuri
Thank you so much. We get our last caller for tonight. 0776409840. 0776409840. That is the number you're using. Looking for my last caller. Also, I've got a number of messages on our Facebook platform. We'll read out some of the key questions that I can pick from there. You're our last caller. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling from Mamba.
Mamba, your name, please.
I'm Celestia Smusha.
Let's go ahead with your question or contribution.
Yeah, I want to use my local language.
Mkwai, please go ahead.
Ndera ndapali batata bagize lubinda bwawe experience. Chachi ne vale unfa ku sometimes like prime TV bali chele. Pero kusanga kweba opobekere apo so balera ndi apali prime TV. Namba inga sosi ne bali chele nga balera ndi mpita. Ni stabasali amba media yangu ndira prime TV. Pero de la posenza tukula mbacho balera ndi social. Da fare se finde se va la no si temone tore bomba batmelo la lemona awe vela tushika kontinzi kale la kumamwe da fare se finde sha no si yo na to te la unja no usona ngina le kale so okay thank you.
I'll give you a chance to respond.
Yes, let me respond. My Mazabuka friend webondo nduyo muntu ede utwambirwe kuti utani kujengi bantu gobambira abantu nchiriji golo nchomwayaga jomwe biyo mulusaga undambire. Which school have you built in the whole country? Which school? I already agreed. I said yes. Hagainde has employed nurses, he has employed teachers. But the trouble is that he does not want to acknowledge that he employed teachers and employed nurses because he found infrastructure was built. He is a man who even went ahead and said, you see this Kazungula project, this is a good project, this is our project, this is how our government works. He didn't have the courtesy to acknowledge that that bridge was built by his predecessor. That's what I'm saying. So mulege kubeja musa gamubambira bantu masimpe haga inde ngongo wagamba kuti gamulyaji mbala so yebona ulyaji mbala musa utatubikira kuti tonse tukomane pepe haga inde wakatwambira kuti munagulya 3 square meals abuzuba and you keep blaming God nzala waileta nguleza. When you asked me the question, what is it that you want to do? I said, we want to come and do what the unfinished work. And one of the unfinished work is for us to produce maize that will last 7 years. So that when we have another person like Hagainde to come and sell the maize, at least it will last the people 7 years. Because he has kept telling us that this starvation, this is drought is man-made, poverty is God-made. Tabusipe, you must plan ahead. That was the reason why we planned ahead. We had maize to last us 3 years because we knew that there could be a drought. Now, what has happened? Where there is rain, somebody was telling me at Mwilalanda Fibade Chulabantu. I want to answer him by telling him that I am not driving my questions. I'm giving answers to your questions. So my friend Paul, next time you invite me, let's come and talk about how people are suffering, because that's what they want to hear. Don't come and talk to me about PF, because you're asking me questions about PF.
Yeah, wanted to know the future of your political party.
But the viewer would like us to talk about the poverty of the people. And if that's what the viewers want, when you invite me next time, let's come and talk about how people are suffering.
People are saying...
But I can also say to you that it is ironical in a country where we in the Patriotic Front had already started investing heavily in maize production in the northern part of the country, because we saw that the rain pattern was shifting from the south to the north. We came up with the e-voucher and we were supporting farmers in the south with cattle, with goats, with watering places for their animals, and encouraging that the people in the north, the people in Wapula, who have more water, must produce more maize. As things are now, Tanzania, which is on the same rain belt as northern part of Zambia, is the second largest maize producer in Africa. From 2016, for your own information, from 2016, if you go to Zamstat, they will show you that Zambia has been fed maize primarily from the northern part of the country. So when you ask me, what are you coming to do? We want to come and invest in such a manner that the whole country is food secure. By investing where the resources are, investing where the maize will grow, investing where the sugar will grow, investing where the groundnuts will grow. That's what we want to come and do. We also want to come and give hope to the Zambian people. We want to make sure that the mines that we're running in Zambia are run by Zambians for the benefit of Zambians. We'll do away with these tax breaks and tax holidays that Hagainde is giving to his foreign friends. Today, you are talking about printing money. And I heard this argument, yes, we're printing money and we're printing high denomination currency, 200 kwacha and 500 kwacha, because 100 kwacha notes are 60% of the currency in circulation. So what's wrong with that? What is wrong with maintaining your 100 kwacha note? Why bring in high denomination value? The reason for that is because the government is scared that very soon you'll be having to carry as much money to go and buy a loaf of bread as the weight of the loaf of bread because of inflation. That's the reason why they're bringing high denomination values. Okay? And you're saying that the economy is improving. No, sir. It is not improving, it's worsening. And the people out there, you tell them you're going to give them free education, and yet the cost of fuel, the cost of bus fares for children to go to school has doubled. What free education is it? They were better off paying the 200 kwacha per term, and yet they could afford to take their children to school because transport fares were low. They were better off paying 200 kwacha per term to school, and yet they could feed their children and not force them to eat chimbala.
Wait, if you come back to power, you're going to revisit the free education policy?
We will revisit the free education policy and make it even better. That's what we will do. We'll make it even better.
So they'll be paying?
We will make sure that the economy is good enough for the people to be able to afford to take their children to school on full stomachs, not starving children. A child, even if you give them free education, if they're going to school without food in their stomachs, what do they learn? Nothing. Half the time they're yawning because of hunger.
As we prepare to wrap up the conversation, others are saying, how do you feel being hosted on a station that you had closed down?
You invited me. I did not apply to come here. You invited me. And I'm such a decent man that I accepted your invitation. If you didn't want to invite me because we closed down your TV station, I wouldn't have even complained to anybody, sir. I'm simply your guest. You invited me because you found that I'll come and add value to your program. I'm not going to shy away from your program simply because you were closed down. No. And I don't think that this is a program for us to go into discussing why your TV station was closed down.
No, the callers have also wondered, of course, the many messages.
Now I'm answering them through you, sir. I'm answering them through you that this program was not meant for me to come and discuss why this TV station was closed. If they want, they can write to you and say, please call that man, so that he can come and discuss with you why the TV station was closed. Then I'll come. But for this particular moment, that is not the subject matter.
How does it make you feel, being on a platform that you had closed down?
I was invited by you, sir. How does it make you feel inviting me, a member of the government that closed your TV station? How does it? It is you, not me, sir.
Others are saying, let ECO rest. He should be a statesman. Why are you forcing him to be in active politics?
I explained already that ECAO in 2021, after the elections, decided he was going into retirement. Unfortunately, circumstances forced him to come back into active politics. And I went through that with you.
Many people have also, in conclusion, I know the director is...
Let me say, Edgar Chagwa Lungu is an individual and has freedom of choice. Okay? And nobody would decide for him. The only thing that the people will decide is whether they will vote for him or not. That is their power. But the decision whether he should be active in politics or not is his decision. And for now, he has said, I am not going to watch my party go into oblivion. I'm not going to see the democracy of my country being destroyed. I'll be an active participant. And that's his choice.
As we wrap up, we need to get into the news summary of 2015. But lastly, many have criticized you for describing Waimi as a hero. There's been a backlash on social media that the Patriotic Front is promoting a culture that many people have detested, insulting the presidency and going on social media and abusing those platforms and using them to insult the leaders in government. But you are seen, in the company of Waimi and saying, well, he's a hero that needs to be respected.
Can you imagine a young man being incarcerated for 9 months without trial? Okay? Without trial. And this is because he used vulgar language. Is he the only one who has used vulgar language in this country? No, he's not. And I also did explain on another television program where I was hosted that what I did with Waimi was not all on camera. I sat with Waimi and counseled him, as I would counsel my son. But you see, as a father, I will not throw away my child simply because they have wronged me. As long as they show me that they are willing to learn, I shall counsel them.
And regard them as a hero.
And embrace them. And yes, he is a hero because he is one of the few youths who is speaking out about the ills of this government. I'm not condoning the vulgar language. In the same way that I criticize those in government who are using vulgar language against others. Okay? I condemn that. And I condemn it also in Waimi. But he is a hero because he is one of those courageous ones who's willing to speak out. A lot of his age mates are not even capable of speaking out in this country. Some politicians in this country are now crawling like little puppies under the feet of Hakainde because they fear that if they speak against what he's doing, they'll be put behind bars. He is a hero in that respect, and I would like to encourage him and encourage other youths to speak out. I would like to encourage you to call people like Minister of Education to come here and come and explain what he meant when he said the people of Luapula have poverty of the mind. Isn't that an insult to the whole people of Luapula?
As we,
I would like you to invite Batuke Imenda to come here and explain why he called my Archbishop a Lucifer. Why are you not condemning him? Why me? Why me?
President Lubinda, time is not on my side.
You must also ask President Hagainde, when he was opposition, he was in Kasama. What did he say? Ingabaisa, Bamipela, Wababe Party, have so many people. Bakupea na Shimbi, Wamuchinjisha Shani. Ask him to come and explain. Is that not insults? Now it becomes an insult because it's poor, why me? And that why me must be discarded. No, I will not discard people like that. Those are people who need to be reformed. And they can only be reformed if you and I embrace them and cancel them. If you let them go wild, then you're not helping society. So those who condemned me for embracing why me must ask themselves, is this the wise thing to do? That because this boy has wronged society, therefore, let us discard him? The boy served time, 9 months. He was convicted. What do you expect if a person has been convicted? Remember, it was this government, the PF government, that made sure that we reform the prison service into a correctional service. So I was hoping that I'll be playing a role in correcting why me, and through him correcting others who are using vulgar language.
Honorable Lubinda, I want to appreciate you for making time to appear and coming through to Prime TV and matters arising, to be specific.
And thank you very much for inviting me to Prime TV, which we had closed. And I'll be your guest whenever you invite me. I will not feel any ill whatsoever, because those circumstances surrounding that can be discussed on another day. Thank you very much for inviting me.
That's why we wrap up tonight's edition of Matters Arising. In the studios, I had given Lubinda, PF Vice President, ECL-led faction. On behalf of the entire production crew, I've been your host. My name is Po Shingongo. Good night.